Hey guys, look. Bugsy's seen her cow. She has a row with this guy all the time. Bugsy, leave him alone. The ball. Every day they have an argument. Every single day. I don't know why Bugsy thinks she's got a chance. Well, look at what we have here, Bugs. They're back. The guys are back for one more time. How you doing, everybody? How are you? Hoping you're happy, healthy, doing those things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. And tomorrow, guys, tomorrow afternoon, we get to do it one more time as Liverpool come to town for the penultimate Premier League game before the World Cup. A massive game. Injuries to both teams, form of both teams, very volatile. Usually a very exciting game with plenty of chances at both ends. And we're going to be talking about that in just a microsecond. Before we get going, guys, if you wouldn't mind doing me the favour that you always do in such high rhythm, and that is to please drop a like, a notification bell button push, and of course a subscribe button if you haven't already on the channel. It would mean the world to me. Bugsy, let's go! Bugsy, come! 1 second. Anyway, let's get going, guys. Tottenham versus Liverpool. Let me get straight on with it. The injury news for... Let's start with Liverpool, shall we? They are without Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, Arthur, Naby Keita, and Joel Matip for the game. And we are without Christian Romero, Richarlison, maybe Dejan Kulusevski. We're going to talk about that in a second. And maybe even Lucas Moura. He gets worse. He gets worse up top for Tottenham. We'll talk about that in 1 second. But we're going to start with Liverpool because I think it's easier just to go through their system. I think they're going to play a 4-3-3. And my 11 is Alisson in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold at right wing back, or right back rather, with Konate and Virgil van Dijk and Robertson making up the rest of the back four. And then Jordan Henderson, Fabinho and Thiago in the midfield three, with Salah, Firmino and Darwin Núñez up top. As we know with Liverpool, always a dangerous team going forward. They've got a very flip-floppy kind of form at the moment. And it's very, very difficult to predict what sort of Liverpool will turn up. But usually against Tottenham, it's a good one. We haven't had any success over them in the last 10 meetings. A few draws. We've come close many times, but we haven't ended up beating them. I think it's for 10 games now. So it's going to be tough. I do think, however, that they are vulnerable, as they have been most of the season, because their midfield is, aging. Doesn't have that ability to be dynamic and fluid with their movements quite as much as they were last season. And consequently, when you see Trent Alexander-Arnold bombing up the right-hand side, or Robertson down the left, if they get caught out of possession on the counter, then previously, Virgil van Dijk could utilise his pace, his skill, his strength, and alongside the strength of their midfielders to get back to cover those gaps and to not get themselves in too many problems. That hasn't been the case this season. And so there are opportunities for Tottenham. If we play our style of football, the counter-attacking style, there are opportunities for Tottenham. Well, they are somewhat limited, though, because of the unfortunate news that Sonny obviously isn't going to be around. He would have absolutely gobbled up that space. And he usually plays very well against Liverpool anyway. But unfortunately, he won't be there. Quick bit of breaking or side news on the surgery. Apparently it went very well, and it's still 50-50 whether he'll make it for the World Cup, but if he does, he'll be wearing a face shield. Good luck to him. Hope he rests and recovers really quickly, and let's all keep our fingers crossed that he can participate in the World Cup for his country in just a few weeks' time. That's good news. The challenge for Tottenham, guys, is how do we go about our forward line approach when we know that KULUSEVSKI is apparently available, maybe available for 10-20 minutes at most, not fit enough to start. And to me, I've got to be honest, guys, like I'm really worried about rushing him back for a game where he may or may not be ready. Like I'm not saying I know any better, but if we are rushing him back on any level, then I'd rather not have him and take the risk, take the probable L tomorrow. Because I just don't want to see this kid who's got so much potential snag his hamstring again. They're like elastic bands, and once you pull them too much, they never quite regain their sort of turgidity. And the elasticity of it is never quite the same, and the injury proneness becomes a frequent thing for people with hamstring issues. Sessegnon's battled with them. The best example, I think, in recent years of a striker whose career was on some level blighted by that injury was Michael Owen. And he was rushed back from an injury too soon, and it went again, and then he was down. And like I say, once it goes a few times, it goes all the time. And I think KULUSEVSKI is too important to us, and his career has so much potential in it that I just don't want to see it blighted by an overzealous requirement for him to play because of other problems in other areas of the pitch. So look, I'm all for it. If he's fit, if he's ready to come back and there's no worries about it or concerns, then yeah, 100% can't wait to have him back. But if any of the medical staff are in any doubt about it, then I'd rather him sit this one out. The problem with him not being available is Lucas Moura has also been playing through the pain. He's come back maybe before he was ready, and his tendon has, it hasn't fixed, it hasn't healed. He said himself a couple of days ago that he plays in pain every day, and on some level it's either slightly painful or on other days it's incredibly painful. Conte said in yesterday's press conference that Lucas Moura was essentially he was in agony yesterday and didn't train. So, it never rains but it pours with our injury list at the moment. And what do we do when you have 6 forwards and 4 of them are injured at the same time? Harry Kane is absolutely shattered and exhausted, playing every minute essentially, twice a week in games that are always high intensity, going from, especially into the second half. And then you only have, say, Bryan Hill, who's the other option, who Conte hasn't given anything more than, I guess, a combined 30 minutes maybe this season. It's a real concern. So do you go 4-3-3 or do you go 3-4-3 or do you go 3-5-2 against Liverpool that are going to go 4-3-3? Well, here's the concerns for me. If you go 3-4-3, then you have no options. And what you would do with the 3-4-3, in my opinion, is you would play Perisic on the left. He's played there for Inter, and he is an essential ingredient on the pitch for Tottenham because of his abilities with set pieces. Tottenham right now rely very much on getting goals from set pieces, and they usually come from, or they're starting from his foot, because we're not playing great football, and we're often chasing the game, and our method to get back into the game has, I think, 7 times this season been through his set pieces, or through his foot. And so, he needs to be on the pitch. But I don't think you can play him at left wing back, because he'll get torn apart by Salah. And counterintuitively, Sessegnon, who I didn't want to see play against Marseille because I thought the occasion would be too much for him, because I think he's sometimes scared of his own shadow. Last season against Liverpool, he was absolutely phenomenal, and he pocketed Salah from the first minute until the last. And so, it's a trade-off. I don't think you can avoid to not have Perisic on the pitch because of his ability to get us out of a hole with its set pieces. But I don't think you can afford to not have Sessegnon on the pitch to try to quell or quash the threat that Salah and Trent provides on their right-hand side. So for me, that's one kind of concept to keep in mind. The other concept to keep in mind is that, well, if you go 3-4-3, then you've only got 2 men in midfield against what I think will be Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago. And I think that they haven't been great this season. Fabinho's been pretty rubbish. and Thiago Henderson are getting on in years and they haven't got the kind of mobility that they used to, but they're still very dangerous players, very good players, and know how to control the midfield. So there's a trade-off. If you were to want to go battle, head to head against them, then there's absolute logic in playing 3-5-2 and putting Bissouma in the 6 and let him kind of compete in that role, and then give Højbjerg and Bentancur the freedom of the city pass to be able to be more liberal and exploitative going forward. And look, those guys have contributed massively this season in goals, assists, in progressive movements, in adding to the team ethos and to the character of the side on a positive note. So, to go 3-4-3 and maybe have those two penned back or pinned in a little bit by Thiago and Henderson, I think maybe you lose a lot of what we now see Højbjerg and Bentancur as being capable of. And so you can make the argument to go 3-5-2, especially as you don't have a plan B if you go 3-4-3 with the forwards. How do you set up the 3-5-2? Well, you'd have Harry Kane, but who do you have next to him? It's either going to be Lucas Moura, or it would be Bryan Hill, or you could play Perisic up there. I don't know if that's going to work. It's more experimentation. But at least if you did that, then you have him on the pitch in an offensive way that he can contribute, but not have to deal with his weaknesses defensively. I think that to me is the key. We need him on the pitch, but we don't need him to be facing an angry, hungry Mohamed Salah for 90 minutes. So if we can square that circle, then we maybe have a solution. At the back, I think the team picks itself at the moment. We don't want Sanchez in, so we're going to have Davies on the left, Longley in the middle, Dyer on the right. It's not great, but needs must. It's the better version of what we can do until Romero's back and until January comes, where hopefully we can buy some reinforcements there. And then on the right side, on the right wing back, Doherty, Spence or Emerson for me. Look, Spence isn't going to start, we know that, so it's Doherty or Emerson. I think you have to give it to Emerson. I just feel like his performance on Tuesday was really good in the second half. He was a brilliant contribution to the offensive line, and he stuck in and did everything he could defensively. And look, no one particularly wants him or Doherty at the club. We all know that. But again, it is what it is until it isn't. And for me, I think that's that you go with Emerson. So I'd go, the back five picks itself: Sessegnon, Emerson, and then Longley, Davies and Dyer. And then after that, I want to hear your thoughts, because there's arguments for both. I think I'm probably liking the idea right now of, as I'm talking out loud, 3-5-2 with Bissouma, Højbjerg and Bentancur. And if Lucas Moura's out injured and if he's in absolute agony today, and Kulusevski's not ready and Bryan Hill isn't ready for a full 90 minutes, I don't mind the idea of Perisic playing alongside Kane. But listen, we are threadbare. We've got injuries all over the pitch. It's problems that keep coming, and the solutions aren't necessarily clear. Love to hear your thoughts, guys. You'll see me one more time before the game, and I look forward to that as well. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, guys, bye bye.